Yep.
Did you? Okay.
Did the story, we'll run up, we got the,
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes and reports received and filed?
None.
None. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
we got leadership Friday morning, I guess.
I think so. I haven't gotten anything, but I got it on my calendar.
Okay. On Sunday, I'm doing radio with Bob Scribner and Ellinger.
What are you guys talking about?
I don't know, not much going on.
So they didn't let you know what they're going to be asking you about?
Well, it's about deer season, so I'm fairly excited about that.
I don't see either one of them talking about deer season.
Well, I know the mayor wants us to talk and mention the use tax stuff, so.
Okay.
Got the MSB, we got the court, we got plenty to talk about,
I see.
so. I think that's it, we got Board of Adjustments Monday.
We got Board of E Thursday, don't we?
I think you're down to one day.
We're down to Monday, the 30th.
I think
Okay.
she canceled all the rest of them. Should be on.
Because we've only got, I think we've got 4.
I still had it on my calendar. So,
Oh, we're good, that Port Authority public hearing
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, from 7 to 8 p.m.
Okay, yeah, if I didn't miss that.
we're having a safety meeting on Thursday.
Oh, shoot, I was gonna ask Larry. We're supposed to go out to Public Works, so I need to ask him. And I'll send out a reminder email.
Okay. And then Board of E on Monday, is that what we said?
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I got.
Well, most important thing, Wednesday through Saturday, sidewalk sale. But, yeah, the port public hearing, 7 to 8 Thursday. Got a Cap Region reception in the afternoon, and then everything else we've already covered. Commission comments, bids and contracts. Any unfinished business? New business, accounts payable review.
There is no accounts payable today.
Okay.
Approved.
EMS communications.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good
Morning.
So as you're aware, we've briefly discussed that the EMS communication system needs to have a few things done to it. One of those things, and this is going to be a multi-faceted approach as we go through. We need to upgrade the, one of the things we're looking at is the GIS server, and this is more for your information purposes at this point. I'm waiting for the quote to come back, but a GIS server, what it'll do is currently the ambulances, the CAD doesn't pick the closest unit. So we have these AVLs, but other than a random being able to look at the screen and see where they're at, the system isn't saying, here's the closest unit, please send. In order for that system we currently have to do that, you'd have to upgrade to the GIS server that they have. It's one of those things. There's some other issues that we're trying to work through. Once I get the quote, one of the recommendations that I'll be bringing back is that in order to see if this CAD is capable of being made to a usable format, a more usable format, what we'd like to do is have some training come in and also have them come in and try to reconfigure that CAD system to make sure that it's working within the current operation model. If that's unsuccessful, then we'll have to discuss other options. So that's more for information at this point for you. The other part of it is the upgrading the capability for responder safety, and other issues is the cell phone aspect. What that will do for us on a broad stroke is, and most importantly, is the responder safety side of it. Right now, if a crew has an issue or gets themselves in an unsafe area, the supervisor has to try to figure out who it is on the truck, and then try to use their personal cell phone to try to call their personal cell phone. And so that's an inefficient and unsafe manner to operate, in my opinion. What we should be able to do is have a phone assigned to each unit. That unit's phone is then exchanged at shift change, and that way the crews can go in, or the supervisor or anyone else that needs to get a hold of that crew in an emergent or non-emergent aspect can call directly to them, and they know that that's who they're contacting. The other aspect of that is it's going to be on the FirstNet, which is the priority system for first responders. So in a emergency or even a large-scale domestic attack or anything along those lines, this system will automatically give priority to first responders. And so that way, if we're trying to call hospital, call other agencies, and of course the cell phones, especially during a natural disaster or domestic terrorism event, the cell phone lines are going to be jammed. This kicks those individuals off in order for us to do our job. So that's the other side of this as well. Any questions?
When you were talking about, you're talking about having Zerker come back in to look at our system first for the CAD system?
Yes, sir. What we'd like to
Zerker.
do is have Zerker come in and see where we can improve that, see if it's a system that we can get to be fully functional. Unfortunately, when other staff members have left, a term called stovepiping basically is where those individuals were the only ones with the knowledge, and so we have no way to extract that knowledge at this point. So we need to be able to update the system and try to get it into a usable format.
Okay.
So we don't have any action today on it? Or do we need to do something with the cell phones?
So I would recommend something with the cell phone, sir, authorizing that, that we can do that. That's also for the data cards, which should help part of the communication problem that we're having as well. Right now we're with Verizon. We believe that AT&T has a stronger signal anyway, and that is who does FirstNet, is AT&T. That's the federal contract that was offered to AT&T. So they're the only ones who can do FirstNet. With the increased signal strength, what we're hoping is that will help alleviate some of the CAD things as well, because right now the units are coming on and offline through the modems. So we'd like to try the data cards, see if that improves signal strength, which keeps them online more. If it doesn't, then we're going to need to then go down and see if the modem isn't strong enough. But I'd like to take this in the least expensive mode first and try to see where the breakdown is in this process, instead of just going kind of for the Hail Mary right off the bat.
But none of the phones are gonna be issued to personal people. They're gonna be issued to supervisor trucks, ambulances.
So there's
I
only
think that was
phones
part of the question.
So the only phones that we would recommend would be the administrative staff, and the reason for that is they're on 24 hours a day, and they have to be gotten into contact. They're also, for instance, for incident command, we run incident command. We have to be able to be on FirstNet as well in order to have those communication capabilities. The one thing is that it would only be for business use, no personal use at all. So that would alleviate, I believe, any concern through the research that we've done for that. That would be more of a county policy thing for you guys.
So in regards to the phones, I mean, is that the monthly fee, is that just what it's going to cost for each phone? And then what about replacement and other items?
So my understanding is that the data plan is $38 for the per unit per phone, or per month, and that is for the data cards that would go in the ambulance for the modems and things like that. I believe it's $39.99 or $40 a month for the phones, that per phone per month that would go into the units. That is from what I've received is unlimited phone or voice, text, and data. So that will help in that aspect. So we shouldn't see overruns or charges. The other aspect with the personnel phones that I discussed a few minutes ago, that actually saves $10 a month to the county by going that route because of the stipend that we receive as well.
So I guess my question was in reference to the actual phone itself, and do we have to go out and purchase the phone, or is the phone included in the cost?
So I spoke with the AT&T vendor, and they said that they were able to get us those phones. Generally, what we've seen, especially at the previous agencies, as long as you don't get the newest generation of the phone. So in this instance, say you were trying to get a simple iPhone 8 or something along those lines that can do those functions, those generally are free for you to come onto their service.
You mentioned some of it too had to do with complying with the HIPAA regulations, so.
So one of the things
That's
that we
part of
want to
it,
make
too.
sure is if you look at court cases out of Florida and Ohio presently, there have been unfortunately providers who have done selfie wars and things like that. I find that to be disgusting, but also a liability for us. So what we would do is one of the things is we would lock down those phones that we had control over, and then we would institute a policy that there would be no personal cell phone use on a call, which then, if we see that happening, now that gives us an actionable item to say, hey, for HIPAA's purposes, we don't have those things. Also, any type of communication in those aspects, we need to be able to verify and go back and look. If an employee was using their personal phone for that activity, that is then can be seized and or FOIA'd and things along those lines for personal communications for conducting county business. And so we would like to ensure that for the privacy of the employees, that's not an issue either. We'd like to keep county business on county assets and personal business on personal assets and not intermix those things. I mean, basically, we're asking our employees right now to use their personal phones on an ambulance, to call hospitals, call report, trying to have all that county business conducted on their personal phones. Again, I don't think that's a safe way to operate.
If you guys remember back in 2011, you guys did do a policy basically saying we would go to stipends instead of supplying the phones to our employees. Because of the IRS regulations about documenting each call is business related and not personal related, we went to the stipend. I understand the HIPAA part of it, I understand, I have no problem putting it in each vehicle, but we do have other departments here, and most of the other departments are on a stipend basis, and most of them run 24 hours a day. So I'm just saying, open the door, we're gonna be back to where we were, if that's where you wanna go. I know the world has changed, and cell phones have changed, it's just hard back then to keep personal out of business on a cell phone. And a lot of employees did not want to carry two.
But right now, we got a lot of people that aren't even getting a stipend, but are using their phones for business usage.
We have that all over the county.
Right.
I think EMS is such a specialized business. Having a phone on each ambulance, and that's what that phone is, that makes the most sense to me.
And I'm okay with on the truck.
Yeah, I think and I think having the supervisors I think that makes sense too, so.
It's up to you guys.
So, what are you saying about command staff? Are you good with that too,
Mhm,
or?
I think so, because, you're on call. You need to know if something comes down where everybody's got to respond.
One of the things it does is it does give us priority access to that first net. So if we are on scene trying to run an incident and we need to make those phone calls, especially at a large scale event, that's something that allows us to do, that gives us that priority access to the network. Otherwise, we wait in line for everybody else.
Yeah.
And the same-
And that phone's just going to be used just strictly for EMS. They're not going to be calling in Ethel and
Absolutely not.
Omaha.
So we will make sure that there's a policy in place that strictly prohibits that.
Yeah.
Miles Agency, we had the same thing. We had a policy on that. We did not see abuse. The other thing that we had done at our last agency is we had IT go in and put a monitoring system in there, so that way they could always go in, check all of those things, and be able to pull anything that they needed to ensure that there was compliance and no inappropriate behavior. That's the other thing that we're able to do, is lock these phones down into not allow anyone to get into inappropriate sites or anything like that. And finally, on the trucks, what we can do is we can also put our protocols on those phones as well. So that way, if there was a reason a paramedic had to get back into the protocols, we can get an app or just upload PDFs, and that way those protocols are immediately available to them as well.
I said it on that first meeting, FirstNet, there's no doubt FirstNet is the way to go for emergency services, based upon, basically, if you had some kind of a mass incident, all responders first responders get priority access on that data signal, and that's what you want, so.
I didn't realize they were using their own phones in the first place, so
Well, what everybody needs to understand too, is if you're using your phone for public business, those phones can be seized in an investigation, they can be subpoenaed in a legal matter, and it's just something to be aware.
You better give me a phone too then.
You probably
Just saying you don't wanna
want
see my
Jeff.
phone.
I'm not joking.
The whole
So,
county's gonna want it.
so one of the things that
I know,
Well,
I'm-
the problem is the whole county doesn't need to use their phones. I mean, it's one thing if you got email, but EMS, they have to communicate with hospitals.
It's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Exactly, Jeff.
Yeah,
So-
I like the fact you get the priority, you know, if there is some kind of a major disaster where, you know, I think that's,
And I would recommend, just because you are the elected officials and you have an emergency preparedness responsibility, that it may be something for you guys to consider having phones, because in the disaster, you would be someone that I would be reaching out, and emergency management would be reaching out for guidance and policy decisions. And so that may be something for you guys from a public safety standpoint to consider for yourselves.
I'm gonna take care of the staff part of it first. I'm fine with it. I know we've got the other policy, Debbie. I don't know if you got more questions.
No, I'm just letting you know, you wanna make an exception, you can make
Yeah.
an exception. It just, you know, we have like Bill Farr, he's the head of emergency.
well, Bill Farr maybe needs to be on this too.
It'll save us money.
Yeah, I
Because if we
think,
get him a phone and a program, and he has it strictly for work, it's gonna be $10 less a month than what we're giving. Paying him.
I think Bill Farr would be a person who should be on this.
But he's not
too.
gonna wanna carry 2 cell phones around.
Well, leave your personal one at home.
So I always
Or
carried
in the
two.
car.
For 2 years, I carried 2 of them, and it would actually, to be honest, it was much easier to know this was my business phone, and when it rang, I answered. That way I didn't have to answer my personal phone. And when you get phone numbers from numbers you don't know, then it's, oh, do I answer this? Do I not answer this? Is this, you know, telemarketer, et cetera? So it actually made that aspect of life, to be honest, to carry 2 phones much easier for me.
Yeah, in certain positions, I'd say so, but, so you're gonna give everybody in, say, we'll use Public Works, for example. You're gonna give them each phone, they gotta carry 2 of them?
I'm not, but that's up to you guys.
They got radios in their trucks, they don't have to use your phone, do they?
There's a lot of sheriff, EMS. But they're not emergency, but they are kind of if they're out on the snow or out in the middle of the night and have trouble, you know. You guys do whatever you want. I'm just telling you where we were.
I think this makes the most sense. You've got the one phone for each ambulance, and
The
I
policy
think-
was more for the
Yeah.
IRS deal, though. Was because if we give them a phone, we have to prove that everything they do on it, there's not anything on their personal. And there was no way for us to do that. So,
The actual policy from the IRS, when I researched it, was called in minimis. And so there is, should somebody one time make a call because for whatever reason, that doesn't invoke the IRS rule. So first off, right, again, a policy, and at least in my department, I will make sure that I monitor that aspect of it. However, I don't think that the county gets into a spot where someone makes a mistake, picks up the wrong phone and makes what would be deemed a personal phone call. Again, that's in minimis is the way it's written in the IRS rule. So I don't think that we would be running into that. Also, if we do have the capability of installing one of the monitoring apps in there, right, very simple, go in, we can lock down all those different aspects of things, and we can make sure that we don't have any inappropriate usage.
You guys good with this?
I'm good with it, yeah.
yeah, we'll try it.
So probably not in the budget.
Well, you're gonna have to kind of see a little bit, so the difference in price going from Verizon to AT&T for the data card there's some wiggle room. We may have to wait closer to the end of the year to see
Okay.
where we're gonna end up, but there's money in there at the moment to make the change and see what the bills are gonna be, and then
Okay. All right, I move that we move forward with the cell phones for EMS and the data cards.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, is that it? Agenda? Anything else?
That was for administrative staff and all units.
Yes, so I think it was 16 or 15 phones and 16 data cards, was that?
I believe that's what it was, sir.
Yep.
How many
Do we
was
want
that?
to put Bill Farr in that too?
It was 15 phones and 16 data cards, I think. What was your question, Lynn?
Oh,
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Maybe we go in.
Sorry,
Go
before we
ahead.
go into
Oh.
closed session. I thought there was something else, but, the health department, you guys wanted me to check into basically using maybe the boosters, football boosters.
Mhm.
I did find out that if we direct them, even if we maybe pay the boosters a little bit, it puts us into a situation where it is our liability.
Okay.
And it is our workers' comp
Okay.
that would help, so just to
Okay.
let you know. You don't have to make a decision on that
So
today.
we would be covered.
Would be covered.
Right.
But potentially it could add to workers' comp another category for us, but
Okay. But if we went out and hired a temp service or whatever, we'd be paying work comp to them too, right?
no, it's on them.
Well, we'd be paying it in their hourly rate that we were paying them,
Yeah, I'm sure they would
Yeah.
charge something, yes.
but it'd just be on somebody else's work comp policy.
That's
or-
right.
And then any spouses that want to work, any elected officials that want to work, well, you know, spouses.
See, that's nepotism. You want to lose your office? Go ahead.
That's nepotism, you helping your wife move her office?
I thought he was talking about.
Yeah, not his spouse.
There's no monetary reason why I can't help.
I'm sure your wife's told you that too.
So
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know. That's all I have.
All right, I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri for personnel issues sub 3 and security issues sub 18.
Second.
Roll call?
Sam?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
We need to call Hilke or?
I will if you want to do that first.